We're good.
Yeah?
Yep.
All right, great. So again, thank you for coming because I love to see faces and interact with you guys. If it was just all you people out there live, I would probably get bored or just not feel as happy. So tonight's workshop is called Franken-Foods. I called it that specifically because the quality, unfortunately, of our food supply in this country is getting worse by the year. And it's becoming less and less like food, just like Frankenstein was less and less like a human, right? I don't even remember how he started, but I think it was a human, and then he became a monster, right? So Franken-Foods, I thought, was a good title, and it's stuck all these years. I do this workshop every year, and every year I have to add to it. But this year, I discovered that information is getting increasingly hard for me to find. And that's discouraging. I have to use multiple search engines now. I do not use Google because I won't find anything that I'm really looking for on Google. So I use Bing and I use DuckDuckGo, and so that's discouraging. Because I feel like it's my duty, not only for myself and my family, but for my patients, to find this information out, right? And so, but I did find some new stuff that I was looking for, and so I'm hoping that you're gonna get a lot of good content tonight that it will help you. So, let me start by asking a question. If you were taking a car ride from New York to California and you had a nail in your tire, how soon would you want to know about that?
ASAP.
ASAP, like I want to know before I get in the car, before I even load the car, right? Yeah, why? Because you don't want to be stranded, right? You don't want to be stranded somewhere where you're not familiar and having to wait 10 hours for somebody to come and help you, right? What if you had somebody, getting overcharging your bank account for something? How soon do you want to know?
No.
Like right now, right?
Right.
This past week, I found out that somebody was trying to buy ammo or some sort of gun thing with my credit card. I got an email, thanks for your purchase, son. And I'm like, Nautilus Ammo down in Detroit. Oh, nice. Okay, so I called Nautilus Ammo and I let them know. By the way, this is not me. And the guy, thankfully, he caught it. He realized it was fraudulent somehow, probably because the billing and the shipping address were different, perhaps. I don't know what little red flags they have, but I was grateful for that. And then a couple other people tried to purchase the same product on different websites, and all I got in the email was, thanks for registering, this is still in your cart, you might want to, that kind of thing. But we want to know that right now. If you had something decreasing your quality of life and building disease in your body, how soon do you want to know that? You want to know right now. How often does that really happen though? Right? How many people get caught by surprise? A lot of people, right? A lot of people do. And a lot of people ignore the signs of building disease in their body, don't they? Especially men. Men are worse than women, I think. Just from my clinical experience, they like to poo-poo their symptoms that may be an alarm bell, right? We're designed with bells and whistles just like our car. So when our check engine light comes on, like right now, I gotta change my oil. Every time I get in that car, here it is. Hey, change your oil, right? I'm not gonna just put a piece of tape over it or duct tape over it and ignore it. I'm gonna go tomorrow and I'm gonna get my oil changed. That's what I'm gonna do. Okay? But a lot of us, I don't know if it's a lack of confront or what it is, but a lot of us really don't pay attention as well as we should. Or we just chalk it up to old age, don't we? Yeah, we chalk it up, well, I'm getting older. Well, I'm over 40 now. And now's the time I'm told I'm going to start breaking down, and this is just normal, right? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to start out today with something I'm 99% sure. I'd be very shocked if any of you have seen this yet, unless I told you about it already because I discovered it a couple months back. and you went and looked it up yourself, but I'm gonna show you a video from a man called Bill Gates, who calls himself a philanthropist, and you can have your own opinion about that, I'll have mine. But that's not the point. The point is, he has a lot to do with the food supply. He has a lot to do with Franken-Foods in this country, okay? So this is a promotional video. I'm gonna show you this.
That's right. Agricultural emissions are
Can you hear
one of the most difficult to get rid of. People have come up with alternative food, but what we're seeing is that it's hard to get more than a small market share, and those foods just don't taste the same. Savor's made an advance in the chemistry that's ultra different in terms of the environmental footprint, but it's as good as those real animal fats.
At Savor, we've been really excited to
So it's a
explore
California
a
company
new
called
technical
Savor.
approach to making food that does not require vast amounts of land or animal suffering, doesn't produce greenhouse gases. It's a totally non-agricultural method for producing food. The fats that Savor makes are made by a thermochemical process. They are the only foods in the
Very
world
nice.
so far that are made entirely without photosynthesis.
And that's supposed to be a good idea?
Yes, according to Bill, because he's a philanthropist,
Savor
so.
fat, different kind of formulation of savor fat in it. Everything we're trying to showcase here is that sustainable food needs to be craveable as well in order to get to mass adoption and mass market. We think that butter is very special and it fits very well on the technology because it's hard to replicate animal butter.
Butter
It
is very
has a
special.
very complex composition when it comes to fatty acid. What do you think?
That's right. I wouldn't have been able to tell you that wasn't part of it.
Okay, that's great.
But shall we try next?
Raise your hand if you
Next
believe it.
is blueberry fries.
Yeah.
So in this we have a different kind of formulation. So it's our Savor tallow formulation, and then we have fries, and then we have aioli.
That's quite good.
Here we are looking for juiciness. We're looking for what we think is so far missing in the alternatives we find on the market. All of them are using plant oils. So like the method we find is different, the mouthfeel is different, and so how do we get to something juicy and drippy and craveable? So now we have the end of this journey, which after burger we're just gonna get ice cream, and this is what they're looking for, something which is fully pleasurable and past beyond what we find very often on the market.
Try chocolate now. And we've got strawberry here.
Yes.
It's got that rich feel. So the dream here is that Savor itself will be coming out with butter in the next year or two, and then for these other products, Savor will be a key ingredient to help them achieve food that is environmentally friendly but also tastes great.
All right,
They're missing a few facts that what you want your food to be, obviously.
Yeah.
right. Notice he used the word products, right? These are food-like products, they're not food. That is not food. It doesn't require photosynthesis, it doesn't need to eat the grass, it doesn't need to poop outside and have sunshine. It's not food. So this is the growing trend of where our food supply is going. Push towards non-foods, or plant-based foods only, okay? And that to me is scary. It's very scary, because he might just get his way. This company might just succeed, especially if this woman who's describing it is describing it properly. I can't believe that our bodies innately wouldn't understand that this is just not food. I don't care how savory it is or how much it tastes like butter. I'm gonna know it's not butter, and I'm gonna innately not want it, right? But they're gonna market this strongly if they can, and your FDA will approve it, even though it's a chemical process. They will approve it because that's what they do, right? I don't know if you know that the FDA approves it's probably over 50 chemicals now in our food supply that other European countries and other countries just don't allow. In clinical practice, I've had multiple patients over the years go to Europe for a vacation, and they eat all the things, right? And they feel really good eating all the things. But they come home and they're like, why when I come home, I feel terrible when I eat the bread? Why do I feel terrible if I have Italian? Why do I feel terrible when I eat pizza? And I have to explain to them like that the quality is so much less here. because our FDA allows way, way more chemicals in our food products than other countries. And that's simply because big ag and big food and the FDA, they're very close, right? They when people may lose a job in the FDA and then they gain a job in big agriculture or big food, right? So it's a revolving door oftentimes between our three-letter agencies and that which they're supposed to regulate, okay? Okay, here's your basic cereal or whatever label, right? And I meant to bring a honeycombs label tonight, but I didn't, so I apologize. I wanted to get the whole box, even though I didn't want to pay for the box, because it's crap, and like, what am I gonna do with it besides pass it around? But it was on my mind. Okay, so when I look, this is for me to teach you, when I look at this, there is not real food that, excuse me, that's gonna nourish me on this label. Not at all. Okay, you got corn flour, okay? And this is not organic corn flour. So what happens with corn in this country is it's genetically modified. The seed is genetically modified to sustain bugs, okay? So it's called Bt toxin. It's in the seed, and when the plant grows, it just grows. And then the bug comes to try to eat the plant, and then the bug explodes from the inside, okay? And we're consuming this often. When you say, I mean, a lot of Americans eat corn. We eat a lot of Mexican food. I mean, I love Mexican food, but I'm not trying to have a pesticide factory, in a sense, in my gut, because that's what that's gonna do. And besides that, corn flour is just sugar, all said and done. It's just a grain. It's not a vegetable, by the way. It's grain, okay? And it just gives us a blood sugar spike, okay? You've got sugar, of course. You've got whole grain oats, okay? Again, oats, if they're not organic, are heavily sprayed with Roundup, okay? Inside of Roundup is a chemical called glyphosate. Glyphosate is not only carcinogenic, meaning it causes cancer, but it destroys our collagen, okay? And if you don't know what collagen is, it's the most abundant protein in our body, okay? It's responsible for our structure. It's like our scaffolding. It holds us together. So it's very important for us to maintain as much collagen as we can. And in my world now, based on what I've learned about all of the glyphosate in our environment, is that I'm going to supplement with collagen every single day of my life from here on out. Because as I get older, I'm going to make less anyway, right? We just make less of it as we get older. And if I'm faced with the glyphosate that I didn't know I was consuming, you know, and now I know where not to get it, but it's so pervasive in our environment. I mean, maybe I'm still getting it. I don't know. There could be some cross-contamination. I don't know that. I'm just doing the best that I can with what I know, right? Okay, I look at this and I've got, where am I at?
Honey.
Whole grain corn flour, so we've got more corn here, more Bt toxin, we've got honey. I can guarantee you it's not gonna be your farmer's market, you know, local honey, right? This is gonna be probably honey from China that's not of good quality. You've got salt, you've got natural flavor. Who knows what that is? Not me. Could be different for every product that labels that. Could be different, and likely is, right? You've got yellow number 5. Again, that's a toxic food coloring that other countries just don't use. And for some children, this can be excitotoxic, which means that like their brain gets like it's short-circuiting for a while, okay? You've got wheat starch, okay? Again, you've got Roundup and glyphosate involved with that. You've got the stabilizer or the preservative, BHT, which is a known chemical that causes problems, okay? And then this is what gets people, but there's Helena, there's vitamins and minerals on there. So that must make it better, right? Well, no, because these are lab created. Your body's not gonna recognize these, and they're likely sprayed on. It's not even in the mix before they make the thing, whatever the thing is, right? They usually just kind of spray it on there. And your body, because these are not whole vitamin complexes, but you know, the whole complex is what the body wants. These are just lab created parts sprayed on there, and the body is not gonna be able to use that for fuel. That make sense? Okay.
So when when you look at labels, you look at the ingredients, not at everything else, just, I mean. you
I do
focus
look
on-
up here, but this is where I go first. Because if this doesn't make me happy, I don't care about this, right? When I'm looking at this, like if this makes me happy, then I'm gonna go up here and I'm gonna say, okay, how much protein is in this? Is that adequate for whatever this product is? And how many carbohydrates? 35 grams of carbohydrates? That's just sugar, right? That's all these grainy things, that's just sugar. And then you've got the total sugars of 13 grams of sugar. If I buy a product, it's not gonna have 13 grams of sugar in it, it's gonna have 3. 3's my limit, okay? As far as total sugar goes. All right? Oh, here's one more thing about labels. This part is the most important part. I don't care what they tell you on the front of the packaging. I don't care, because they know what you wanna see, what makes you warm and fuzzy. They know you wanna see whole grain, 5 grain. They know you wanna see olive oil, made with olive oil. They know you want to see made with xylitol. They know, right? They study us and what our likes are, and then they'll market a product to us with what's on the front. For instance, they will sell you mayonnaise made with olive oil, right? I don't remember the brand name, but there is, it's out there. If you go to the store, you'll see it. And it's got olives on the front. It's like, oh, that's great. Olive oil is so good for me, right? And you take it and you buy it and you go home and you think you're doing the right thing. But if you had turned it over and looked at the back, you would know that there's soybean and or cottonseed oil in there and or canola oil in there, not just olive oil. And the olive oil that's in there is probably cut with canola oil, so it's not good quality anyway, right? So you have to understand that they're marketing to you, and it's propaganda pretty much, mostly, right? It's not real. If you turn around and you look at this first, you're gonna know what's in there. And if you're questioning anything in there, just don't buy it, okay? Okay, you ready for more Bill Gates stuff? This is the latest ingredients that has been approved on our food from Bill Gates. It's called Appeal. And this was one of the things that I did struggle finding all of the information I needed to know about in regards to what foods and where are using this product. So this is a coating that they're putting on the outside of our produce, okay? I have heard that Costco uses it. I haven't looked personally through Costco's produce. There's supposed to be a sticker on there that labels it as such. I don't know, 100% believe that that's true because I haven't seen it with my own eyes yet anywhere. But it could be. I hope it is because I think we as consumers, we need to know. We have the right to know. But it's mono and diglycerides, which are basically emulsifiers, and they are used to blend parts of foods that don't normally blend together, like oil and water, okay? 99.34% of other ingredients are not specified. So have you seen that, other ingredients on a label? It's similar to that natural flavors. We don't know what it is. So the majority of this product that's coating our produce, we don't know what it is, okay? That for me is a big red flag. Independent lab has confirmed that there are heavy metals in there, like lead, etc. So it's contaminated and it's not properly regulated because it falls into a gray area, right? Nobody knows what it really is, so they don't know how to regulate it, in what category to regulate it. So it just kind of falls in the middle somewhere, okay? So in my opinion, based on what I know and what I do not know much more than what I know, because again, it's hard to find the information sometimes. I'm choosing to opt out, okay? This time of year is a great time of year to be able to opt out of grocery store food because we, especially in this area, we have really great farmers markets, okay? My favorite is the Meridian Farmers Market on a Saturday, okay? I mean, I can literally get nearly everything I need there, okay? I do have a farmer that I get my meat from, but if I need something extra that I've ran out of and I haven't ordered from him yet, I'll go there and I can get some meat there, okay? So That's so much more preferable because you can literally have a conversation with the people who grow your food and find out. And if it's satisfactory to your needs, then great, you know, support local. And that's what I choose to do. Plus, it's just nice. It's just nice to know that there's a place to go and get your food. Yeah.
So you're talking about a peel and it's like a coating on produce. How is the label, what does the label say, a peel?
It does, and it's green. If I remember right, it's supposed to look green, and it should just say appeal on there. And you can't wash it off. That's another thing. You can't wash it off. And so you are gonna consume it, whatever those 99% of other ingredients are in the mono and the emulsifiers, right? So that's a problem for me. Not food, yeah.
Even if you peel it, you're still cutting through.
You're cutting through it, potentially contaminating the food underneath, yeah, for sure, yeah. I've been told that it's, you know, avocados are a product that it's being used on, and it's even organic foods, so don't think that you can get away with it with that organic label.
Okay, so they're gonna be, like, say, in avocados, and it doesn't have anything on it to tell you that that's what's on it?
There's supposed to be a label, but I haven't seen it yet, so
I
I'm
haven't
concerned.
seen it on
I'm
avocados,
concerned
I
that
can tell you
perhaps
that.
there's not a label, even though I'm told that there's supposed to be, right? I don't know. Until I see a label and recognize that there's the label, so they must be labeling things, right? I don't really know because I haven't seen it. Now, Cindy was just telling me on the way in, that Trader Joe's has announced that they're not using a peel in their produce. So that's a good look right there, you know, so
Okay.
that wins my support. Okay, any other questions about that? Sugar, you have to understand all of the different names for sugar on your food label. Because if you don't, then you're probably buying something with sugar and you just don't realize it. Okay, so this is many, and most of these I will tell you I haven't seen, but apparently there are different names for sugar, okay? Sucrose, maltose, you guys will see those kinds of things. Caramel, dextrose, so if it ends in ose, that's likely a sugar. Cane juice, high fructose corn syrup, so if you see HFCS, because they don't always put it full out, that's sugar. Syrup, obviously, date sugar, fruit juice, full of sugar. Let's see, what other? Honey is natural sugar, but it's still sugar, so you need to understand that it's still sugar. Corn syrup is sugar. Okay? Does that help? There's my picture of that. I don't know if you'll be able to read a picture of it. It's kind of. Okay, so that's important. Sugar is in our world the top 3 or 4 things that we try to avoid at all costs. Okay, sugar is very inflammatory. Sugar depletes nutrients from the body. Sugar shuts down your digestion. And in fact, we have a handout in our office that's 147 reasons why sugar is harming you. Okay, and what I do sometimes in our specific sugar lecture, I give them out to people and I have them mark their ailments on that sheet, because 99.9% of the people in the audience who have health conditions, they're going to find that on the sheet of 104. They're going to find themselves. I did initially. I had asthma. I had aches and pains in my early 40s when I started taking care of myself and patient in this office. So I found myself, even at that age, on that sheet. So everybody pretty much does. Hypertension, asthma, all the things, right? So if I think we're doing the Elixir Sugar Habit in October, and so if you're interested, please come to that one. It's another great workshop.
What about like coconut sugar?
Coconut sugar is still sugar. It's a better option, but it is still sugar, okay? Yeah. All right, so here's a more definition, I guess, of what I call a Franken-Food. So they're food-like, pesticide-laden monocrops that are created in a lab, okay? So imagine that Beyond Meat, have you seen that? That Beyond Meat? Well, why is it, are we, you know, some people don't wanna eat meat, or a lot of people, unfortunately, I'm finding in clinical practice, they are repulsed by meat. They don't want it, they don't crave it, and they don't want it. And I struggle with getting them to eat meat, and I think they're deficient. But I'm also curious because I have heard that Bill Gates, he's coming up a lot tonight, that he's created, I think it was in the mosquitoes, to make people sensitive to red meat, because red meat, you know, the cows are a problem with our climate change, right? That's what he says. I mean, he said that in that video you watched. So I'm wondering if that ain't true. That's a scary thought, but perhaps it's true, because I'm starting to see more and more people lately that just don't have a taste for meat. So anyway, back to this. So it's genetically modified. It's linked to sterility, which is a big problem in this country. Way bigger problem now than ever before, by the way. Allergies, everybody has allergies. Most kids have allergies. Cancer rates are through the roof right now. They've increased, I believe, like 300% over the last 2-3 years. Infant mortality, organ defects, and childhood illness. By the way, our children are 54% of our children are chronically ill in this country. That's a huge fail. I probably got to 54% on a test once upon a time in my life, and I failed it, right? And so that's a huge fail for the greatest superpower in the world, right? We've got the best of the best. We've got the Cleveland Clinic. We've got Johns Hopkins. We've got all these wonderful hospital organizations, yet we have the sickest population in the world. We use the most pharmaceuticals of the whole world right here. That's a fail. We need to change it up. We need to do something different. And that's where offices and practices like ours come into play, because we're up against big pharma.
Yeah.
We're up against a huge conglomerate that are in bed with the government, right?
Mhm.
They're the biggest lobby to our government. So we're up against it. So all we can do is get as many people in and get as many people off our pharmaceuticals as we can. That's how we win. That's how we can fight them. That's the only thing we can do, right? Other than just getting people, bring their awareness up to how poisons and how their lifestyle is making them prone to needing pharmaceuticals, right? And hopefully one person at a time. Okay, so they're not necessarily labeled. I know there's a non-GMO label, but is it? I don't know. I'm not trusting anymore of those who label food. That's just me. And more than 54% of crops are genetically modified, and more than 70% of processed foods have at least one genetically modified ingredient. Okay? Now, we don't yet know, I mean, genetically modified foods have been around for a couple decades, right? I feel like it's been a couple decades at least. We still don't know all of the negative effects of what that's doing to us. We just don't know, right? We're just over here living the dream, eating it like it's not harmful, but perhaps it is. Perhaps it is, yeah.
I had heard that there were studies in animal models that said that genetically modified foods are cancer causing.
Well, yeah, I mean, they are. They're linked to that for sure, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that.
Yeah, they are. But who's gonna stop it from, I mean, FDA didn't stop it. They're like, oh, they use this with this term. I read this term a lot when I'm looking at this stuff. It's generally recommended as safe. They use that terminology a lot. This food, GMOs are generally recognized as safe for human consumption. Really? Well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
It's your opinion, right? Like only 10 rats died out of 20 in your study?
Yeah.
What, I mean, what does it mean, right? It's just a frou-frou term, so they're not really lying to you, right? But they're not telling you the whole truth either. Okay. Okay, so this is the actual process, right? So this is how they do it. They force genes from one species into another, entirely unrelated species. It's not like crossbreeding or hybridization though, right? Hybridization is where they took, fruits for sure, but vegetables as well, and made them sweeter, right? Did you know that? Your bananas didn't used to be as sweet as they are. Your apples certainly weren't as sweet as they are. Our ancestors used to just make alcohol or wine out of apples, right? We didn't have any Honeycrisp back then. That's hybridization, okay? So it's just messing with nature, really, okay? So that's that. And you can go to gmo-awareness.com for more information. And E. coli is used to grow tumors that invade the plant cells. Electricity is used to rupture the plant cells. Or gold particles are used in a gene gun to blast DNA into a plant. So perhaps are we getting exposed to E. coli as well when we're eating these food products? Perhaps. I don't know. Right? Lots to think about. Okay, we talked about Bt toxin. This is the actual name. I can never say it. Bacillus thuringiensis. Okay, I tried. Okay, so this is the genetically modified corn. It's right in the soil, or right in the plant. It's a pesticide. It explodes the stomach of the insects. And what is it gonna do to our stomachs, right? It's like a pesticide factory in here. And the vast majority of Americans today don't have good gut integrity. A lot of people that come into our office, they have guts that are just wrecked, right? And we have to heal and seal the gut, get them to clean up their diet and get these kinds of things out of their diet. Okay? Oftentimes you're gonna see citric acid on a food label, okay? And I want people to know this isn't about fruit. It's not about oranges and apple, or grapefruit, okay? So it seems like it might be because of the name. And maybe once upon a time it did, I'm not sure. But it's used as a preservative for texture and flavoring or an emulsifier. And it's commonly made from Aspergillus niger, which is black mold. Isn't that nice? I'm sure they get it all out before it goes into packaging and then you consume it. It's commonly found in foods like ice creams or sorbets, caramels, soda, ciders, beer, wine, baked goods, cake mixes, and baby food. Okay? So beware, make good choices when you see that. Do I want some black mold today or do I not? Right? Is it really important for me to have this box, whatever it is, to have black mold or not? Okay? The food you eat can be either the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. Tell me what you think a food would be that is medicine. Just name it out. What would you consider a food that is medicine, that can be medicinal?
Berries.
Okay. Yeah. What else? Those of you who are my patients, you're hearing me say this more every time.
Red meat?
Meat.
Red meat.
Red meat.
Yeah.
Yeah, red meat. The cows that they're trying to get rid of, right? Red meat. Why? Because the cows, they eat all the grasses. If they're grass-fed and grass-finished, the farmer, if he's doing proper farming, those cows have multiple types of grasses to eat throughout their day, okay? That then becomes the nutritious, high, full mineral, nutrient-dense meat and fat-soluble, nutrient-dense fat within that cow. Did you know that? Isn't that fabulous that an animal could literally take grass and turn it into a ribeye that you want to just throw extra butter on and just chow down? That's fascinating to me, right? They build muscle and they get big and steaks. Yes. What else? What else is nutrient dense? What do you know about? Think about it.
Eggs.
Eggs. Yeah.
Oh,
Eggs.
yeah.
Absolutely. You've got protein, you've got healthy fat, fat-soluble nutrients in the yolk. I will tell you, as of late, I've been eating more red meat and more eggs and more butter. and I've been more satisfied than ever before in my life. I will eat some vegetables. I haven't really eaten any fruit. I have no desire to eat fruit. Don't feel like I need it because I'm satisfied. I'm not snacky. I just eat a lot of red meat. And I do eat some chicken. I do eat some salmon, but I'm more satisfied with red meat. So that was an interesting experiment I did on myself. And doing so, I feel better. Turns out I was a little bit too sensitive, or probably consuming too many oxalates. If you don't know what oxalates are, they're plant chemicals, and you might want to write it down, oxalates, and look up what vegetables, what foods are high in oxalate, because some of your problems, especially if it's aches or pains and things like that, could be because you're consuming way too many plant oxalates, okay?
What about vegetables? I mean,
Yeah.
what's your opinion on that?
Well, you gotta look at the oxalate level, in my opinion, right? Because things like kale and spinach are super high in oxalate. Kale didn't even used to be a food for us. It used to just be garnish, if you remember.
Yeah.
Now everybody, I mean, there are nutrients in there, but it's all really high in oxalate. So do you really want that, right? You can get those nutrients somewhere else, like from a ribeye. Okay, you don't necessarily need kale. It doesn't have to be in your smoothie. Nobody wants kale unless they're putting a bunch of crap on it, do they? Have you ever tried to eat it just plain? It's terrible. It's terrible, right? So find out what vegetables are low oxalate and try to consume more of those. And see how you feel, because you may feel better if you're doing that, and then you could safely assume that perhaps you were consuming too many oxalates, okay?
How about broccoli?
Broccoli,
They call it
Yeah.
superfood.
right. Broccoli is a superfood. It is high in nutrients, and it's really supportive to phase 1, phase 2 of your liver detox. But thyroid cases, a lot of women who have thyroid problems, they don't do well, especially with raw broccoli. So I usually try to tell people, don't eat it raw if you're a thyroid case. But, you know, it's doable. Yeah. Okay, here's the dirty dozen for you. Okay, these are the things that I'm looking for when I'm looking at a label. The high fructose corn syrup, again, it's not always written out like that. Sometimes it's just the abbreviations. Trans fats, dyes, the food dyes, the yellows, the reds, the blues, number, whatever. Sodium benzoate, which is a chemical preservative that natural flavors, ingredients or whatever. Carrageenan, that's a known carcinogen as well. They were putting that in the nut milks. They initially, when nut milks became all the things, they were putting it in almond milk and oat milks and coconut milks and all the things. And then I think those of us in the natural health world were like really loud because then not like we didn't want it, and so that it went away. But I have still seen it in some products, so just be aware that that's not necessarily a health food thing. Now, you can find junk in a health food store, and this is one of the things that you can find in a health food store that's not gonna be good for you, okay? Just because it's a health food store doesn't mean it's something that you should not look at, right? You still wanna look at your label. Artificial sweeteners, so there's aspartames of the world, the sucraloses of the world. Those are neurotoxins, okay? They're definitely not good for you. One year, this is a label snafu. This is, when I was early on in my learning, I knew I didn't want those in my gum, my chewing gum. So I was at Meijer and I remember checking out and I see Trident, and on the front of the label it says sweetened with xylitol. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can do a sugar alcohol, I can find with xylitol. So I bought it, but I didn't look at the label. So yes, it had xylitol in it, but it also had sucralose in it. And sucralose was discovered sort of accidentally in a lab where they were trying to make rat poison sweeter. Okay, so probably not good for you and I. Let's see, all natural, this MSG, monosodium glutamate, that's a seasoning, but it's terrible for you. A lot of people get headaches from that and they don't realize that's where their headaches are coming from. They're consuming way too much of it. All natural, purified, right, as in purified water. That's just glorified tap water, okay? It's still gonna have fluoride in it, it's still gonna have some other chemicals in it. Low sugar, low fat, right? We bought in as Americans, my parents bought into this when I was younger. You know, fat was bad for you, saturated fat was bad for you, causes heart disease, stay away from it, and they did. Everybody did, and we still have heart disease. The cath lab is still busy, and they're still doing open heart surgery, triple, quadruple bypasses. Don't get it twisted, and we're eating less saturated fat than ever, right? Because they trade the fat for chemical, because otherwise you're not gonna eat it. They trade the sugar for chemical, because otherwise you're not gonna want it. You see what I'm saying? So it's a big deal. So the low fat, low sugar is just a chemical crap storm, so stay away from it. I would rather you eat all the butter and cook with lard and cook with tallow than go low fat, right? Than to use the corn oils and all the seed oils, the canola oils of the world, okay? Trisodium phosphate. This was another reason why I was gonna bring cereal. Maybe not honeycombs, but I believe it's General Mills cereals. They put trisodium phosphate in your cereal. Do you know, it's like a stabilizer. Do you know what that is though? You know what other uses for that is? You could strip your deck boards with that. It's a paint thinner. You can look, you go to the Home Depot and look for trisodium phosphate. You could buy it in a gallon jug. They put that in cereal. Yeah.
Why all natural? What's better with that?
Because it's a general term and they know we like it, right? Oh, it's natural, right? But it's really not. It's just a general, make you feel good, all warm and fuzzy kind of term.
So it doesn't have to have anything back in it?
No, not really. If you look at the FDA's website, you try to Google what, or search of what really it means, you're not gonna get a specific answer. It's just a general term, okay? And it's just to make you feel warm and fuzzy, okay? All right, everybody got that? I was gonna take this out because they don't use it in the food supply as much anymore. At least I don't think they do, because it's relatively expensive, I'm told. And I'm gonna take a big swig of water before we continue with this next slide. Okay, ready? This is castoreum. So what is it? It comes from the American beaver, and it's an anal secretion from beavers, and it's used to mark their territories, and it smells increased. It's like vanilla. Right? Who decided? Who discovered that first? I wonder who's smelling the anal secretions of American beavers? Who are these people? Are they Native Americans? Did they do that? I don't know. Okay, but it was used in a lot of food products, and you know, things that had the vanilla, strawberry, like yogurts and things like that, and you know, snack cakes and stuff for flavoring. Can you imagine that? This would be considered natural. You see what I'm saying? Because it is. It is natural. However, I'm not wanting to eat it. I'm not caring what it tastes like. I don't want to eat that. And I honestly have never found anything bad about it, like it's poisonous or it make you sick. I've never found anything like that. But I'm not eating this, right? And it has been used in perfumes too, by the way. Yeah. Nice, huh? But again, not much. I really don't know where this would be in our food supply today, because I'm told it's really, and you know what I envisioned when I heard about this? I envisioned, like, you know how you see cattle with their necks in the things because they're all getting milked or whatever, lined up? I envisioned a lineup of beaver butts in those things, and somebody's like getting the, I mean, that's where my mind went when I saw it. I'm like, who's doing the extracting? Is it a machine? Is it a person? What? Okay. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever take that out because it is a fun conversation. Just to think of what they have before putting your food, you know? Okay. Okay. The longer the shelf life, the shorter yours. And there's no truer statement. The more of this crap that you eat, the more, your body does not recognize this as food. Your body recognizes this as toxin, okay? our bodies detox every day, some good, some not good, right, depending on how deficient we are. But if we have to live on planet Earth with the chemicals in the food and the chemicals in the, the food, for instance, these tiles, they off-gas formaldehyde. If you buy a new car, there's off-gassing that you're exposed to. If you lay new carpet in your home, so there's chemicals everywhere, and some we can avoid and some we cannot, right? Air quality, that kind of thing. We just have a hard time without a revolution. We're not going to get better air quality, right? But there's a lot we can do. And so if we clean up our diet and at least allow our body to not have to worry about that because we're eating nutrient-dense food, it can do much more for us in the world of healing. But if we're eating this stuff, the body's never going to get around to detoxing the world. Does that make sense? It's going to have to always worry about detoxing this. And you're going to, over time, through the course of your life, become more toxic. You're probably likely going to gain more weight because your body has to store those toxins somewhere, and it'll do that in your fat cells. Okay? Make sense? And then you're going to, over time, you're going to become symptomatic. And then over time, your symptoms are going to be more severe, and you're going to go to the doctor. And then your doctor's going to give you a diagnosis and then a medication. That makes sense? But your symptoms going to persist because you haven't cleaned up your diet. You're still poisoning yourself every day. Okay? Got it? Okay, these are 3 things from my childhood. Crisco, my mom had a big jar of Crisco. Cheerios was always on the table. Again, it's heart healthy, right? It helps improve your cholesterol, which you need, by the way. Every cell in your body needs cholesterol, especially your brain, and highly sprayed with Roundup. So I was getting glyphosate as a child, if indeed they were using it back then. They might probably were. And Nilla wafers, right? Who doesn't love some Nilla wafers? But this is a big deal. So my goal as a practitioner and as a mom is to raise children who will never put this in their body, right? Who will never put the previous slide in their body. And they'll know exactly why they're not doing it. You know? And they'll maybe try and help their peers. I'm trying to teach moms in my clinical practice, and Dr. Jean-Guy, we teach people in our clinical practice, mothers especially, because you get mama bear healthy, it trickles down to their baby bears, right? You get grandma healthy, grandma's not going to spoil the grandchildren with this crap, right? Because she's going to know better. She's going to learn that that's not showing my grandbabies love, that's poisoning them, right? Because we always ask grandparents, that's where you get all the sugar, right? It's from your grandparents, right? I know I did, right?
Yeah.
It's important. We need a revolution of health in this country, and it starts with this local clinic and others like us, and you guys who are patients here and your friends. You have to spread the word because we are in a war for our health, and this is only one of the reasons why. But we are in a war for our health. We're the sickest nation in the world. Longevity is not a thing for us anymore unless we're prioritizing our health. It's just not. My 97-year-old grandmother would have been 98 this past week. She fell, broke her back a little over a year ago. And she had complications after that until we had to put her on hospice and let her go see Jesus. She'd still be here today if she didn't fall. Why? Because she ate, majority of her life, she ate real food, right? She was born in the 20s. The majority of her life, she ate real food. There was not McDonald's on every corner, right? Mom stayed home. It wasn't until my generation that moms started working outside the home. I was grateful I had a mom that worked in the home. And many of my classmates did also. But some mothers did have jobs outside the home. But from then it just snowballed till bye-bye. Now we all got to work. We can't not work. It's very hard for a woman to have a family and not work. And have your husband has to make a very good living, right? And then comes the TV dinners, and then comes the microwave, and then, right? Here we are, right? Can you see that progression over the decades? It's a big deal. Okay, here's some numbers for your fruits and veggies, okay? So conventional grown fruits and veggies are just going to be 4-digit, okay? So we in our office, we really appreciate the Environmental Working Group's website. And on their website, and you might wanna go there and just look around because you're gonna learn a lot. The Environmental Working Group, it's ewg.org, I believe. You can go there and find out a lot of stuff. You can find out the quality of water in your area, okay? This is an important thing. Did you know Delta Township has really high radium in their water? So if you're ever out to dinner in Delta Township, don't drink the water, ask for bottled water, because you're gonna get, it's high in their website. It's like high. So that's a problem. So people out there, they're showering in it, they're cooking with it, and they're drinking it. It's a big deal, okay? Organically grown fruits and vegetables are supposed to be 5 digits with a 9 in the front of it. And again, I use that term organic in the sense of the grocery store very loosely. And I say that because the FDA's guidelines have a lot of loopholes in them, right? So I question how organic really are they, but I still feel like they're better than conventional. Back to the Environmental Working Group. Our patients know because they get it on day 1 of care, but there's what's called the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. So that will allow you to buy your produce if you have to in a grocery store a little more frugally, because there are some fruits and vegetables that are not highly sprayed with pesticide, and there's others that really you should buy organically because, and that's considered the Dirty Dozen because they are heavily sprayed. GMO fruit and veggies are supposed to start with an 8. So if you ever see that with the 8 in front of it, then that's genetically modified, okay? You guys got that? Yeah? Okay. Cage-free versus free-range, I get this question fairly often, but they're definitely poorly defined, okay? So you can look at eggs that you can stand in front of the egg section at Meijer, and you're gonna find probably 5 different ways they're labeling eggs, right? Free-range, cage-free, whatever, you know? Farm-raised, small farms, la 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 la. But do you really know? I don't know, okay? So they're poorly defined, and some animals can live in a barn with 10,000 other birds, you know, like that's factory farming. But if they roam in they have a certain space to roam in, that's considered roaming, free range, right? That's okay with the FDA, doesn't matter, right? But I suggest you find a local farmer, or go to the farmer's market. Like I said, there's plenty of places to get farm-raised eggs. And if you don't know, ask somebody, right? Ask around, ask your family. If you know anybody that lives in the country that has a farm, ask them. They're gonna know. If they're not the one, then they're gonna know, right? So that's option. Grass-fed. So the label sounds straightforward, but you gotta be careful because even conventional farms, cows are fed grass for the first few months, okay? So then they're switched to grain to fatten them up before they slaughter them, okay? So I look for grass-fed and finished if it's not coming from my farmer, okay? 100% grass-fed and finished for my beef, okay? So labeling is, yeah, it's very important. They're counting on you not to know and not to look. They're counting on you being lazy and not looking it up and not reading anything because nobody wants to read anymore. You know, it's just, that's what they're counting on, and they're mostly right, you know. Most people are too busy. They don't have the time in their minds. They don't have the time. They don't want to take the time, right? Antibiotic free, so that's seen on milk and meat products. It implies that they were never given antibiotics. But, you know, you gotta see specific terminology such as raised without antibiotics, otherwise it may have eaten had one or more through their life. So it's just, again, this goes back to labeling. They know what you wanna see, they will know what you want to read. So, and they're counting on you not to ask questions about it to see if it's really what you want, okay? Alright, we're almost done, guys. So this is important for fish products to Marine Stewardship Council. So more than 500 products from fish sticks to Alaskan salmon carry this label, which means that the seafood you're buying was caught without endangering the species or harming the local ecosystem. So that's important. Fisheries whose products carry this label are regularly inspected. So that's important. I always look for, if I'm looking for tuna fish, it's gonna be pole caught or line caught. If I eat fish, it's gonna be wild caught. And again, look at the back of the label, don't look at the front, because I've been almost tricked before with a front label that looked like it was wild caught, and then I turn it over and it's not, okay? So what decade was it when we started using canola oil? Was it in the 2000 era? Have we been a good 20 years in this era? Yeah, I think so. So this was marketed to us as a healthful oil, right? Everywhere, it was all the rave, and everybody was like, "Oh, okay, this is gonna be great." Did you know there's not even a canola plant? Doesn't exist, right? It's called rapeseed. So you will know why they're not gonna call it rapeseed. They're not gonna market rapeseed oil, right? So they changed the name canola oil, and this is how it's processed with hexane, which is a chemical, a flammable vapor. After deodorizing the omega-3s in the canola, which turn it into trans fatty acids, that's nice, those are inflammatory now. Now you take omega-3s, which are anti-inflammatory, make them inflammatory. In '85, the FDA banned the use of canola oil in infant formula, stating it caused retarded growth, but now it's okay for you. Right? Again, another failure from the FDA. A lot of things went by the wayside in the 80s as far as our regulatory agencies go, and now realize it goes rancid easily due to high sulfur content, it depletes vitamin D, and can raise your triglycerides over 40%. Triglycerides is your crapple-meter part of your cholesterol channel, okay? And so if you eat a lot of canola oil, you're gonna likely have high triglycerides. Your doctor's gonna be like, I gotta put you on a statin. Well, what if you just stopped eating canola oil and stopped eating all that other junk with the seed oils in it, right? Because canola oil is not the only bad one. There's corn oil, all the vegetable oils, cottonseed oil, the soybean oil. They're all processed basically the same way. And they're all inflammatory. They're all high in omega-6 fatty acids, which is inflammatory, okay? All right, so what can you eat? We talked about this earlier, what nutrient-dense food is. Quality protein, eggs, vegetables, fruits, healthy fats, good quality water. Anymore, you probably, if you don't have access to a good filter or a distiller, you're gonna want distilled water. You're gonna wanna buy distilled water if you have to. Add some sea salt to it. This is gonna be better, even though it's in plastic. I don't like that either, but it's gonna be better for you than a lot of those other bottled waters, or for sure your city water. Organic green tea, you definitely want your teas to be organic, but please note that teas are often high in oxalate also. Okay, so you're gonna wanna find how high and judge how much you want to drink. The key to eating healthy is avoiding any food that has a TV commercial. Okay? You're not gonna see a moo cow commercial for a ribeye steak on a TV, right? Yeah, we used to hear that. We don't anymore, do we though? It's cows' farts, it's what's killing our climate, right?
It's crazy.
How can you expect your body to last for a long and enjoyable lifetime if you don't put the proper building blocks in there? That's a good question. What are the proper building blocks? You, we're Mercedes-Benz, whether we realize it or not. Right? That's how you're designed. But most of us are putting hoopty 87 octane gasoline in the tank. right? I know I used to have a Mountain Dew for breakfast every morning before I went to high school. Every day I'd go down to what I call the pop shop. This was back when they were still in glass bottles. I'm dating myself here, but that's what I did every morning. Ramen and vegetable oil for breakfast. How good is that? along with my BT toxin in my cereal, or my oats and glyphosate in my cereal. You wonder why you start breaking down at the age of 40 like I did. Makes you wonder, right? No wonder. It's not because I'm getting old, it's because I've been poisoning myself for the decades, right? So we gotta put a halt to that. And that's what we do in our office. We put a halt to the degeneration of the human body because we teach our patients all of this and more. Because we want them to judge themselves as Mercedes-Benz, right? Not hoopties. No more hoopties. Okay, that's what we do. So going back to Franken-Foods, I put this up here, so many of you have seen this triangle before, but it's very valid in what we do. Anytime we consume Franken-Foods, that's going to cause us certain nutritional deficiencies, because again, the body's going to call that a toxin, and it's going to have to detox it, and certain nutrition has to be had for that, okay? And anytime we have nutritional deficiencies, we have organs dysfunction. We have organs that just are not going to function optimally every single time without exception, right? And as this goes on through the course of our lives, again, the symptoms come, and then they come more severe and more often, and we're on this downward spiral, and we go to the doctor, and the doctor gives us a diagnosis, and the doctor gives us a medication or two, and then the doctor gives us this big bill, oftentimes, and we're no better, right? Because we're still on the downward spiral because we didn't get to the root cause of anything. We're just trying to mask it so that you can live better with your problems, right? Sugar does the same thing. It always goes back to sugar. There's so much more than sugar, but it has to start there, I think. It has to start there, being the realization that sugar is enemy number one, or close to number one. Nutrition response testing is what we do. Many of you in the room are already patients. Who here is not a patient of nutrition response testing? Awesome. Well, that's me. Yeah. Oh no, you. Okay, so there's two of you. It's just a tool, right? It's just a wonderful tool that we have to be able to identify what those deficiencies are for you and what organs are being affected by that. And we're always looking for root causes, right? Who else looks for root causes? Not your medical doctor, not generally, not the real root causes, right? If it doesn't show up on your lab work or a test, they're not gonna know, right? Root causes, things like food sensitivities, heavy metal and chemical toxicities, immune challenges, scars. We're looking for it all. We're looking for it all. And we find it, and then we help your body handle it once and for all. Because you're designed to heal naturally, you're just too toxic and too deficient, that's all. So we put in the deficiencies, we give you the stuff you're missing to get your organs to do jobs better, and then you just heal. Doesn't that sound amazing? Mm-hmm. It is amazing, right? Just like it's amazing that the cow can eat grass and just make me a steak. That's amazing, okay? It's designed clinical nutrition, meaning it's designed specifically for you, which is super nice. Allopathic medicine doesn't have that for you. Meaning if you go into ER with heart failure and you go into ER with heart failure, guess what? You're gonna get the same treatment with the exception of your known drug allergies. You're gonna get an IV, you're gonna get some Lasix, you're gonna get a catheter, especially if you can't get up to pee. You're gonna get a chest x-ray, you're gonna get an EKG, and la 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 la. Right? Doesn't matter why you went into heart failure, and doesn't matter why you did. You're going to be treated exactly the same. Mm-hmm. This work is different. It's specific to you, okay? What we're looking for is overall health, right? We want to optimize your health. What does that look like? It looks like longevity returning. It looks like checking off bucket lists. It looks like finding that nail in your tire before you take off, right? That's what it looks like. Because we have three we have really three outcomes in life, you and I, okay? The first outcome is we're gonna grow older, but we're gonna die early from maybe heart disease or cancer. Top two killers in our country. And we're gonna leave our family wondering what we could have done differently, right? Shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Those are never fun, are they? Right, that's option number one. Option number two is you're gonna grow older, maybe into your 70s or 80s, but you're gonna require some assistance. You're gonna maybe be in a nursing home. You're not gonna have your independence anymore. You're gonna have to rely on other people to take care of you. Maybe you won't even know the people that are coming to visit you anymore because you don't have your brain anymore. You don't know them. You don't recognize them anymore. I had a great aunt who died that way. It was sad. Option number three, you're gonna live life to the fullest. You're gonna prioritize your health. You're gonna have a family. You're gonna do things. You're gonna have longevity. You're gonna check off your bucket list, and you're gonna have a lot more memories with your family until maybe you're in your 90s, and then you fall and break something like my grandma, and then it's over, right? Or you just fall asleep on your front porch one day and you don't wake up. Hallelujah. That's what I'm aiming for. Like that's how I want to go. Just not be fall asleep or just not wake up and no difference, okay? So which one do you want to be? 1, 2, or 3?
3.
3, right? How are you gonna get there?
Do what you say.
How are you gonna get there? Given what I just showed you, how are you gonna get there? You have to be intentional. You have to prioritize your health. Or you're not gonna, we don't have the luxury of just living our lives like my grandma did and not having to worry about things, you know? And then just die, have longevity and die in our older life, you know? That's, she got to live with many grandkids and great grandkids. So, yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm young, I already have 4 grandkids. And I have 2 that I'm still raising, so I could have 12 grandkids. Like, how am I gonna keep track of that? But, right, but that's my goal for me. I wanna prioritize my health, that's why I do what I do, and that's why I teach you what I teach you, because it's important for me, right? I'm trying to break the bank of Big Pharma. One patient at a time, one person at a time, right? Because you deserve to be a Mercedes-Benz and feel like one, right? Run like one, shine like one, all of the things. And the last thing you need to understand is what we do is safe and natural because it's whole food. We use whole food, we use homeopathics, we use herbs, right? Our stuff doesn't cause side effects like pharmaceuticals. So you don't have to worry about that, right? Makes it a lot more, your confidence is higher in what you're doing if you know you don't have to worry about that, okay? Any questions about that? Okay, so let's wrap it up. If I had another funny story to tell you, I would. I don't. So, no more funny stories like that story and stories or whatever. But for you two that are not patients, I encourage you to take advantage of a new patient assessment. It's a 2-visit assessment. And this goes for everyone watching at home. This, you qualify for this as well. It's a 2-visit assessment. The first visit is clinical. It's all the clinical stuff. The second visit is what's called report of findings, and we sit down and discuss everything that we found clinically. There's some other testing in there called heart rate variability study, which tells us how your nervous system is doing and how overall physiologically healthy are you, as well as a body composition analysis, which tells us all the mass of you. What's your muscle mass? What's your body fat percentage? Your hydration? All those things. So there's some good data catchers on visit 1. Okay, and that's greatly discounted for you today. So we can get that scheduled as soon as possible, so that you can. But if you are on a chiropractic plan, either of you on a chiropractic plan, then you get that at complimentary from me. Okay, so keep that in mind. So anything else? Any other lingering questions or comments? No? Do you feel, is your mind like, yeah? Good, I did my job. Okay? But I want you to keep pushing in. If you're currently a patient, I want you to keep pushing in for yourself because there's more for you, right? There's absolutely more for you. Stay